Hello, honors class. This is your second video on some argument moves in Utilitarianism by John Stuart Mill. But first, I want to show you this. This is the AQI, the Air Quality Index, where I live in Albany, 245. That is bad air. That means I'm not going jogging today. But if you're stuck inside, you might as well read philosophy. So here we go. We are going to start with the Reader's Guide of Mill. This is in the week 4 module. And let's look at the argument moves first. To anticipate an objection is to figure out how the opposing side would argue against your view. This is like figuring out what the other team is going to do in sports. To rebut an argument, or do a rebuttal, is to attempt to show that an argument is flawed. You argue against the opposing side to try to show that it is mistaken. So we're going to look at these two argument moves in Mill. So let's go to Mill now. You might get out your copy of the article in case you want to take any more notes. But here we are, Utilitarianism by John Stuart Mill. This is an excerpt. It is a whole book, and we're just reading part of it. We're going to go down to page 92, and you can see I have some things marked up. So page 92, and we're just going to look at paragraph 9 and paragraph 10. All right, so on this page, so again, page 92, paragraph 9, paragraph 10. We're going to look at two of the objections that Mill anticipates. And you can see I have things color-coded. So yellow is the objection that he brings up. And then green is a highlight from his rebuttal, his answer to the objection. Okay, here we go. So paragraph 9, this is what we're calling objection number 2, the too high for humanity objection, which is in the Reader's Guide. The objectors to utilitarianism sometimes find fault with its standard as being too high for humanity. They say it is exacting too much to require that people shall always act from the inducement of promoting the general interests of society. So basically, this objection to utilitarianism is that utilitarianism is asking us to do too much. It's too high a goal. It's too lofty an aim for us. So let's see how Mill responds. So notice right here, right after Mill summarizes the objection, that you have the word but. You'll see this every time you read a rebuttal. So a writer, in this case Mill, will bring up an objection, bring up an opposing view, and then say, but this view is wrong. So you'll always have that but or however when the author begins their rebuttal. And so Mill doesn't have a concession here. He goes straight to rebuttal. All right, so I have a couple spots highlighted. So the first one is, the motive has nothing to do with the morality of an action. This is an important part of utilitarianism, because remember, utilitarianism is only about the consequences of your actions, whether they produce the most happiness. And your motive is not relevant. So the too high for humanity objection is saying that we have to have this motive where we're always thinking about the general interests of society. Like we walk around thinking about all of society all the time, and we're motivated by doing good for society all the time. And the objection is that this is too much. We can't handle this. Mill, in his first response, says that the motive has nothing to do with it. So no, we don't have to go around being motivated by the general interests of society all the time. Let's go to another piece of his rebuttal, which will be later in that same paragraph, paragraph 9. So, according to Mill, the great majority of good actions are intended not for the benefit of the world, but for that of individuals. So his response to the too high for humanity objection is that we don't have to figure out what will benefit the whole world all the time. Normally, when we do our utilitarian calculation, we can just think about the individuals involved, the people around us, and that's good enough. So it's not too high for humanity because we can just think about the people that are involved. Here's another good line. In every other case, private utility, the interests or happiness of some few persons, is all he has to attend to. So again, utilitarianism is not too high for humanity because most of the time, unless you're president or something like that, most of the time, you only have to think about a few people. And so utilitarianism is not too much for us. We can handle it. That's his rebuttal. Let's go to paragraph 10. So in your reader's guide, this is objection number 3. Paragraph 10. Again, utility is often summarily stigmatized as an immoral doctrine by giving it the name of expediency and taking advantage of the popular use of that term to contrast it with principle. So the objection here is that utilitarianism is all about being expedient, which is kind of like doing whatever is convenient for you at the moment. But, so again, he finishes his summary of the objection and then will immediately start his rebuttal. The expedient generally means that which is expedient for the particular interest of the agent himself. Meaning, if you're doing what's expedient, you're kind of being selfish. You're doing what's just good for you. And Mill's point is that that is not what utilitarianism is telling us to do. Let's look at a couple other lines. Expedient for some immediate object, some temporary purpose. So if utilitarianism is expediency, that would mean that you're just doing what's good for you at the moment, some temporary purpose. Mill's point is that utilitarianism is not this at all. So he's saying that this is a misunderstanding of utilitarianism to say that it's about expediency. The expedient, according to Mill, is a branch of the hurtful, whereas utilitarianism will cause us to do good. So basically his rebuttal is that utilitarianism is not doing what's expedient. He says this is a misunderstanding. Okay, and you can read the rest of the paragraph on your own. So, again, to summarize, Mill's strategy, his argument moves here, is that he starts by bringing up an objection to utilitarianism, and then he gives his answer, his rebuttal. He tries to rebut the objection. Same here in paragraph 10. In yellow, he brings up the objection. And then in green, he answers the objection. He tries to rebut it and show that it is wrong. So remember this argument move because you will do it in your own papers.